Alright, hello everyone, my name is Ray, and today we're just going to be talking about the new aircraft carriers that have been added to the game as of today for North America server. It's going to be Thursday for Asia and EU at the time of this recording. It's going to be the Independence, Yorktown, and the Essex. All three are historical carriers and very influential carriers as well. Mainly, we're going to be talking about the Yorktown and Essex because a lot of the changes and the buffs and nerfs that these carriers have received, Independence can pretty much be ignored because they only changed the striking capabilities for the Independence. She doesn't have the smokescreen and she doesn't have the enhanced fighters. So that's why we're just going to be talking about the Essex and the Yorktown for this video. There's going to be no gameplay in this. It's just going to be explaining why these carriers are extremely powerful, especially the Essex, and let's just get on with the video. With those out of the way, we can go ahead and get on with the actual characteristics of the ships. A lot of things have been said about this line, mainly going to be Essex because of her 30mm of deck armor that she is equipped with. Many of us remember how the United States supercarrier came into the game. I think it was 25mm of armor, and then they buffed it to 38 or something like that. But Essex is coming in final version with 30mm of deck armor. Now, this is very controversial, mainly because the moment somebody looks at you, you're going to get shot at, you're going to get CV sniped, and you're going to die. That's what usually happens for an aircraft carrier of this armor scheme. But the thing is, though, you can't really get focused down if you use your smokes. And Essex and Yorktown comes with 2 smoke charges on both tactical squadrons. We run consumables modification 1 to improve our consumable charges, so it boosts all 3 squadron consumables. It also gives us an extra smoke screen. This is very powerful because the smoke, it lasts for 10, the action time is 10.5 seconds base. Sorry, not like this. Move this. 10 seconds base and a 60-second dispersion time with a cooldown of 90 seconds. So the game plan here is you smoke yourself up so no one can spot you, no one can shoot you, and the carrier can't strike you. Once you finish using one rotation, one squadron, and the smoke is starting to go away, you use your other tactical squadron and you smoke yourself up. That's another minute of staying dark. With this, you can push up as close as possible. You have the best concealments out of another tier 10 carrier in the game. And a lot of people are running, for example, they are running things like concealment, or they are running hidden menace to further improve that concealment stat. So when you are concealed the entire time for like 5-10 minutes of the game, well, 30mm of armor is not much of an issue at that point. Now, sure, you can get overmatched by AP. A lot of HE shells will hurt you, and a lot of HE rockets and bombs will hurt you as well. And a lot of people are saying Essex will be vulnerable, she'll be deathstruck, all that kind of stuff. The thing with her, though, I'm first going to go over the flight deck, because people have been asking about the tier 10 German carrier, MVR, with her AP bombs. So first is a 30mm deck that the bomb has to hit and pass through. Underneath that, you have another casemate layer armor. The deck armor on this thing is 64mm. And then under that, that's where the Citadel is. The issue here, though, is the Citadel is very low, it's right on waterline, a little bit higher above waterline, and you have a 37mm deck. So all these layers that the bomb has to go through, it's not going to be able to reach the Citadel and explode. If anything, it'll reach right here on the 64mm deck casemate armor, and it'll detonate somewhere right here. So you only get pins. So that's the first counter to MVR. You don't have to worry about getting Citadeled with AP bombs. And then you're wondering, what about her side? Right? The side armor is 102mm torpedo protection belt armor. But the thing with this, it's layered. So the AP rockets can land some Citadel hits, but it is very inconsistent. I think out of a full like squadron, multiple strikes in custom lobbies, I was able to land maybe about, what, at most 4 citadels, while the enemy Essex just wipes out my entire squadron, because the fighters are pretty crazy. So that goes over her ability to stay alive throughout the match. I believe Essex is more of a solo-focused carrier, because you want to really use your smokes in a selfish way to protect yourself, while also supporting your team by killing everyone else on the other team. Now, if you do get spotted and you don't have smoke active, you better hope that you are by an island, or else you're gonna get the biggest ass open of your time and your team will flame you, because everyone will shoot you and everyone will manage to get pins on you unless somehow you manage to bounce something. I'll say the biggest threat for Essex right now is going to be the fact that submarines are able to sneak up on you and then just unload their entire torpedo salvo, and shotgun you. Your total hit points is at 59,500, which is the lowest out of all the tier 10 carriers that are in the game right now. So you really want to be careful with this. Your anti-air, it goes up to 5.8 kilometers of anti-air range. It's just a pretty much like a standardized American aircraft carrier anti-air. So, I mean, if the carrier is within that range to strike you, if anything, you might kill one plane, but you're still going to get hit anyways. And that one strike can really hurt you for the rest of the game. So now that we're done talking about her base stats, the ship parameters, hopefully you guys can understand that this ship is not a very easy ship to kill, because if the enemy aircraft carrier does decide to focus you down, and you are playing as an Essex, all you have to do is just hug a rock, press your smoke key, and fire your other side so that the CV cannot do anything to deal with you. This line greatly values the ability to push up and make faster rotations. So if you're not doing this, then you should probably be in a division so someone else can carry you. But now we're going to talk about each squadron and their ordnance and their plane stats and what they come with. So the first one is going to be her torpedo squadron. Her torpedo bombers are her only standard squadron that she has. This is an ongoing thing for the Yorktown and the Independence. You only have one standard squadron and you have 2 tactical squadrons. For Essex's torpedo bombers, these are the high damage torpedoes. Unlike what the Midway has, she has 6400 alpha on the torpedoes. These are basically like Saipans, but you have much more planes in your reserves. Next, you have your tactical rockets. These are basically tiny Tims with 6 planes, and these regen every 126 seconds without the commander. And then finally, we have the tactical bombs. Again, 6 planes. These regen 144 without the commander, and these are less HP, less tanky than the FDR planes, but you go a little bit faster. So for torpedo bombers, you do have the 6400 high alpha American torpedoes. These are very nice to use. These are going to be your most valuable tools to have in the game. These will be your main damaging tools, and you really want to put emphasis on these squadrons. So you must land your strikes. You must conserve them as much as possible. If you compare this with Midway, Midway has 3 strikes of 3 planes, so that's 9 planes total. She has alpha of what, like 5,000. So total is like roughly around 30,000. For the Essex, for one whole strike, you do lose out on the alpha compared to Midway, but you have 4 chain striking abilities, so you can actually deal with around 10k more total alpha than the Midway. For these fighters on the Essex as well as the Yorktown, they are improved and enhanced. So with these fighters, both on the Essex and the Yorktown, your action radius is improved. In this case, it's up to 4 kilometers. Normal tier 10s have 3.5. Now, on top of that, the fighter's arrival time is standardized, but the action at which it starts tagging enemy planes is reduced by 50%. If you think about it, it's kind of like somewhat like a better version of enhanced reactions, the 4-point scale, but it's baked into your normal fighters. So what a lot of people like to do is they like to put the 1-pointer, Search and Destroy, to improve the radius. And then they like to run Interceptor to improve the radius even more. So the total range on these is going to be close to 5 kilometers. Now you may be wondering, Interceptors, they don't spot planes, they remove spotting capabilities. The other thing about Essex fighters at stock is that they can only spot ships at 2 kilometers out. So there's really no reason not to run Interceptors. The last thing that they gave the Essex and the Yorktown is improved fighters count within the squadron. but normally it's 7 planes for tier 10s. Essex carries 9. So mixing this on top of the consumables modification 1, you're just boosting your fighter capability. And the strength of these fighters is basically like how a super carrier would use a fighter build against another carrier. They would just place their fighters on top of the enemy squadron, and then the enemy squadron just has to recall or else they lose planes. That is how scary these fighters are. Now moving forward to the smoke curtain generator, I spoke about it earlier. But basically, you can use these to division and cover up your teammates, or you can play it selfishly and use it on yourself and push forward. I honestly prefer pushing forward with this line because of the fact that your tactical squadrons do have the jet assisted takeoffs. You can really get your rotations down. I already made a few videos regarding the Essex already, so if you didn't watch it already, just watch those. You can get it like a gist of how this line will play. So far, in my opinion, I think that the Essex is probably amongst the top of the other tier 10 carriers. Essex is kind of demonic in the sense that it really ruins the other carriers' ability to even play the game if you play it correctly. It really feels similar to how RTS carriers were played, fighter builds. So I can already smell a nerf incoming, either with Yorktown and Essex together or with just Essex's power. That's it for this one. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Let me know. I'll try to answer all the questions. This line is really good. I honestly think it's still not worth spending doubloons and cash to get these ships early. Just wait it out and you'll get it for free. But if you really want the camouflages, feel free to do so. These camos are super goated. But yeah, Essex is probably amongst the top 2 or top 3 of all the carriers that we have currently at the tier 10. Yorktown, probably top 5, but tier 8 is already a very competitive tier. It's hard to really compare. I think Essex is probably my favorite carrier right now. It's way more impactful than Midway. It's more fun than FDR, and it's easier to play than the Hakuryu. I think that Essex is going to be in my #1 preferred carrier. Alright, so that's going to be it. I'll see you guys later.